Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something clicked.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
It's funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Hello, Zenji.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, I take it, I'm guessing.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, okay, good afternoon.
What time is it for you?
It's 6 a.m.
Oh, wow. Do you normally get up this early?
Normally, I try to get up this early.
Yeah.
Not always successful. Yeah.
Me too. Gotta go to bed on time, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big thing for me too. So, I'm trying to recall, what is it that I already know about you? You're in New Zealand.
That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, what else?
Yeah, I don't think I've told you much. And I was wondering whether I should have contacted you. I was actually intending to send you an email and just sort of give you a couple of sentences about myself. By the way, can you hear me okay? Is my voice coming through? Right.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear too. So, just putting my personality aside for a second, I thought it might be helpful if I mentioned that I've pretty much been in and out of therapy my whole adult life since the age of about 16. I'm 44 now.
Yeah.
And I kind of got quite frustrated by, I tried many modalities, meditation and all sorts of other things and retreats. And I sort of gave it up about 9 years ago. Tried many different antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs and all that sort of thing. But it never seemed to work as well as I had hoped, and often seemed to make things worse. And this year has been quite difficult for me. So I thought, and some of the problems that I thought I had left behind seemed to resurface in anger. And some of the books that I read recently sort of gave me renewed hope in, well, science, I suppose.
In science?
Yeah. Well, actually, I read a lovely book by, his name escapes me. I think it's called Connections. It's about by a research psychiatrist who's uses what's it called, optogenetics, and they look at they're able to sort of get down to a very detailed level, look at the brain and see which neurons are being turned on and off, and actually turn on and off neurons with pulses of light. And they're sort of able to correlate that with certain common psychiatric conditions like schizophrenia and bulimia and that sort of thing. And so that really excited me. I've always been a big fan of science. So when I went away, I went to Canada for a month. I did a bunch of reading, and I did a course of ketamine-assisted psychotherapy because I've always wanted to do something like that. And now this psychedelic therapy is becoming more widely available. And in that course of therapy, I had the very, very distinct experience of being more than one person. My therapist did very gently tell me that I shouldn't rush to put any meaning on it. But of course, I was really, really interested in it. I journaled hundreds of pages about possibly me having DID,
Right.
Which I don't really hold true as true now as I did during the experiencing. But she mentioned IFS as a modality that I should look into when I came back to New Zealand. Since coming back to New Zealand, I've had 6 or 7 sessions with a local IFS practitioner.
Yeah.
He's also a doctor and a level 3 practitioner. And I've been reading about trauma, Peter Levine's books, Bessel van der Kolk, Frank Anderson, and the CPTSD description seems to fit fairly well to me. So I found with IFS with that therapist that I was seeing, almost predictably, you could say that it didn't quite go the direction I wanted it to go in, and it eventually I gave up 2 weeks ago. And to me, the takeaway from that seemed to be that I would get defensive in several distinct different ways, but it always seemed to come back to me explaining my story to him. And basically going back into my past, and I think one of the reasons why I thought IFS was pretty cool was because compared to other talk therapies, you don't have to do a lot of that, in my understanding, in order for it to work. And I've listened to a few of your podcasts now, and I thought, and it seems like the way you do it seems to be fairly close to how I've read it goes.
Yeah. That's probably because I'm such an amateur. I'm just sticking to the basics.
To the rule book, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that may be a more effective approach in some cases, because I think so last night I was reading Frank Anderson's book about complex trauma, and in the foreword, Bessel van der Kolk, the author of The Body Keeps the Score. I'm sorry, I'm saying I'm talking about all these books, but I have no idea whether you've actually
So far, I'm familiar with everything you've named. I don't know Peter Levine very well.
Right. Yeah. He's the founder of somatic experiencing, and I think he has some worked alongside Bessel van der Kolk in his trauma center. Oh yeah. So yeah. Last night I read in Frank Anderson's the foreword to Frank Anderson's book by Bessel van der Kolk that CPTSD and people with BPD, borderline, and a couple of other sort of diagnostic categories, which I have had sort of tentatively applied to me in the past. They tend to be difficult clients because in a therapeutic context, because they have extremely strong protectors, and then that triggers the protectors in the therapist.
Sure.
You know. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've really been on quite a journey, having worked with therapists since for such a long age and for such a long time. And
yeah. It's been a very frustrating journey.
Yeah, and you mentioned these things not going the way that you wanted them to go. I don't know. I guess I'm wondering, what it is that, well, specifically with the IFS therapist, and you don't have to share any of this with me. I'm more just curious to know what other people's work looks like. But what is that like? What did you want and what didn't you get, or what did you feel like that therapist wasn't providing?
Well, I met in the first meeting with him. I asked him, because I've never tried IFS before, I asked him how likely, and also because of my previous experience, I've found that sometimes you just don't click with the therapist.
Right.
Or you click more with certain therapists compared to others. So I wanted to get a feel from him about what basically his sort of like success rate was. I was just wondering, how much hope I should invest in him, and So I asked him, if there were any signs that he looks out for, if he's able to discern in clients that indicate that IFS might not be a good fit, and questions like that. And his answers are all fairly promising, and so off the back of that, I told him that I wanted to meet weekly and basically go hard and fast. But I didn't completely mean it, because if there's anything I learned from the ketamine program was that you can't rush any of this, and if you do, you probably get bitten. So, but I was, because of what I'd read about IFS, I did have the expectation, which I voiced to him, that it would follow the format that follow almost a formulaic format. I didn't really mention it in those terms, so I think I said something like that I was expecting the parts work to occur, but what happened was that it seemed like I would get triggered in various ways, and there were numerous attempts or openings where I had the opportunity to sort of sit with a certain part and go deeper, but then it would last for all of 5 seconds. So in the end, it just seemed like he would be asking me questions about my past or about my situation or previous situation, and I'd just be explaining myself.
Right.
And I get that some of that is necessary probably for any encounter with somebody who's trying to understand where you're coming from. But after about 7 hours of it, I threw in the towel.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like that's another beautiful thing about the model is that the work is within you, and I don't, I'm here to kind of guide and guide what that work looks like, but I don't need
Yeah.
I don't need to know the story. I don't need to know where you're coming from. I mean, I'm interested, I'm curious, but the work is done in you. And so
Yeah.
there's, I like getting to know people. I like hearing the stories, but it's also not necessary.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I was a little confounded that it went the way that it did, because he's a chap with a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been doing it for 15 to 20 years or something. That's even possible.
And do you know if he's been doing IFS for that long, or is
Yes,
that okay?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Well, thank you for all of that background. It is interesting, and I really admire anybody who's working that much and
yeah,
trying to heal. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. At times I feel a bit like an idiot because it seems like I'm doing the same stuff over and over again and it's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, about 8 to 10 years ago, I made it a rather conscious decision to just achieve my way out of my problems, just focus on my work and study. And as for self-care, I thought, well, if I just exercise, keep up my exercise routine, go running and walking and hiking, and I keep meditating, and I meditate a bit more, and I have healthy hobbies to divert myself on the weekend, and I'm in a good relationship. I thought, well, life should just sort of sort itself out. Things can't help but heal, like when you get a cut, you don't have to go rushing to. So the thing is, if I could just extend the sort of the physical analogy just for 3 seconds, I think the truth is it's not a cut which you can leave and it will heal. It's more like a more severe injury which won't heal unless it gets the right kind of attention.
Yes.
And so I think that's what I found, is that as I've sort of applied myself more sort of more robustly in the workplace over the last 3 or 4 years, it's made it worse. It's like things which I've been trying to suppress, I've just driven deeper, and I've built up my sort of defenses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a cut that's had the wrong bandage over it, and is getting worse, even though on the outside, that's what the protectors are doing. They are doing what they think is best, which is to protect that woundedness. But they need to get out of the way to do the deeper healing.
So I've tried to basically do IFS on myself since I learned about it about 2 months ago. And I was rather positive at first, and a little bit of imagery would come up around my protectors, and then it would go away. I had a lot of it, despite the very, very vivid experience I had in the ketamine session of being more than one person, and it was so strong that the idea of IFS to me were the calling them parts didn't seem to be strong enough to my application. But then I read that Dick Schwartz worked with people with DID, some reputed success, and I thought, oh, well, it's okay. But the thing is, since trying to coming back to New Zealand and sort of, the ketamine experience has moved further into the past. When I've tried to sort of go within, I found and see who's there in terms of parts. It seems that things disappear, things get walled off, there's confusion. I wonder if the part that, to use the IFS language, the part that is asking the question is a part, and then the part responding is actually the same part, just talking to itself.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've listened to these podcasts and I thought, God, why can't I do that? It just sounds so elegant.
Yeah. It's certainly. I like to use the word efficient, but it's elegant. It's a simple.
Yeah.
It's kind of a simple roadmap. Not that it's easy, or not that it's necessarily fast, but yes, elegant indeed.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to keep talking about it, or to try it with you, or to whatever you're interested in.
I'd like to give it a shot with just the thought that
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Give it a go. Yeah.
All right. Great. And just so you know about the recording process, you have full control over any of that is shared. I record everything, but as far as what I end up sharing, you have ultimate say over that. If it's shared, or if things are cut, or if your name has changed, or any of that. So.
Right. Yeah.
And you'll have weeks to decide about that too.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It takes weeks to get them through the pipeline, and then I'm even open to deleting them after the fact if someone were to make that request. So they say, you know what, we published that, I changed my mind. Okay, fine. It's no big deal.
How many of these do you do a week?
Around one a day.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah. Any other questions about any of that?
Yeah, well, I just thought it's pretty cool how you're offering this. It's like you're open sourcing it,
Yes.
There's a bit of a community in Discord. There's obviously the because do people pay you for this, or donate money, or is it
no.
Is it okay? All right.
There's no money changing hands. I don't do any promoting or advertising. I don't do any. I've thought about maybe hiring a coach or a practitioner for myself or bring someone in, as an expert. But as far as the work we do and my time and your time, I find it a lot more easier to not do any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it might actually, in some cases, contribute to the efficacy of it. Anyway.
Yeah. I know that there's upsides to it beyond just me making money, but again, I've really been doing this seriously for about a year, maybe a little more, and if I'm ever going to be exchanging money, it would be far in the future, So, and yeah, it's just not didn't make sense to me for this particular project.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling we might not be able to do this if you were to, because I think there are rules around therapists and they're being able to operate in their own jurisdiction or something.
And I have zero licensure. I'm not a therapist. I understand. I'm nothing.
And I don't mind.
Yeah, great. Well, if you want to get started,
I'm
happy to. I usually start with 1 minute of just quiet meditation.
Okay.
If that's right with you, and then I'll ask you what you'd like to work on, what parts you'd like to get to know.
Yep.
Okay, I'll set a timer.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Do you have any parts that you'd like to get to know better or change your relationship with? Or any trailheads, any things that have been up for you, anything you feel it's been challenging?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of potential trailheads.
Mm-hmm.
When I look for a part or try and sense one, it's possible that maybe I'm looking too hard at times, but it seems that
Maybe.
the part doesn't appear as a part, or like I said before, it might change.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
so
I just want you to know that
yeah.
I'm happy to keep working with you over multiple calls. So what we start with
Oh, sorry, on multiple what?
Over multiple calls. Like you can call in repeatedly,
Right, yeah.
and so it's okay if we don't find the biggest best part to work on right now.
Yeah. So, just in the meditation that we just did,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about a possible part.
Mm-hmm.
I call it a possible part because I'm not really sure if it is a part or isn't, or whether I'm seeing the same thing from moment to moment, because sometimes it feels like there's a lot of change happening from second to
Mm-hmm.
second. But for simplicity's sake, let's say that I was thinking about this part and I identified certain bits about it. If I've got work in a couple of hours, so and work is a bit stressful. I'm very busy, so
Okay.
I think that part is probably always pretty much activated.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it gets stressed by your work situation.
Yeah, and also if it's the same part, it would get stressed by a lot of non-work situations too, like just going out of the house,
Mm-hmm.
or to buy something, buy food, or
Mm-hmm.
just driving. I was thinking about social situations. I think it's sort of rather tightly connected to perception of all, as probably a lot of parts are.
Yeah. All right. So when you're feeling that stress, let's just say about work for now. Where do you notice that in or around your body?
Like my whole body, almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's feels like a suit of armor with possibly like an opening around my face. Like, you know, like literally a suit of armor, but you know, my face is not covered, and there's it's a sort of a, you know, at your physical you know, tension, and at times burning in the stomach area, usually some sort of raggedness in the breathing, or holding the breath at a certain point.
Mm-hmm. All right. And as you notice it, how do you feel towards it?
This is interesting. You see, I think I'm talking to you pretty much as that part.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask me the question, I detect what to me sounds like a genuine degree of, well, compassion. And that is something that this part seems to respond to pretty well. So,
okay. When you say you detect compassion, coming
from you.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do have compassion for all parts. They're all welcome, and I'm curious and want to help them.
So you asked me the question, how do I feel about this part?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's right. Actually, how do you feel towards it?
How do I feel towards it?
Mm-hmm. As you notice it, when it comes up,
Yeah, this is I think what things. Yeah. Okay. So there was like a flash of compassion at first, and then, like I said, and then there was fear. No. Uh, Resignation.
okay.
Like it can't. The sort of the feeling that it can't be any other way. You know. So resignation, and then sitting with it a bit longer. Then there's fear.
That feeling of resignation, does that feel like it comes from the part itself? Is this suit of armor part, is it feeling like resignation, or does that come from another part of you, or feel like it comes from you, resignation over, you know, not being able to work with this part or change?
Okay. To do that, I think I would have to ask myself, or ask that part the question again. Would that be the right way to do it? I have a feeling you're going to say there's no right or wrong way to do it, but
oh, I'm sure there's wrong ways to do it.
More than one way to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should listen to more of my calls. You want to hear some wrong ways to do it? I'm sure we come across them all the time.
Okay. So I shall ask. Gosh, I've forgotten the question.
It's all right. It's fine.
How do I feel towards that part? I think that was the question, wasn't it? Yeah.
And what you responded at first was, well, one of the things you responded was resignation, and I'm trying to understand if it feels like that part has that feeling of resignation, or if that comes from somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm asking that part the question again. Oh no, I'm asking myself, how do I feel towards that part? Yeah.
Okay.
This is interesting. I think I think they're all different parts, but there's also it felt like there's at least three parts that sort of was So another part having something to do with resignation, and this is just like a feeling, based on sort of very, very sort of dark and rapid, short impressions, like sort of getting from my internal landscape and feelings in the body. So the impression that I get is that there's a part to do with resignation, there's a part to do with fear. There's also a part which is it's sort of a kind of a slippery one. It really, really it feels like it doesn't want to come to the light, but it's got something to do with. I really do want to sort of describe it a little bit. It really doesn't want to be, or it was that it doesn't want other parts or other people, like people external, like you, external to this body, to see us as in this collection of parts, little cells, to be seen as more than one. So it doesn't like the idea of multiplicity.
Right.
At least it doesn't like that idea to be publicly, to be seen.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I really appreciate that. You're naming, and you're saying you think these might all be different parts. I think they likely are. I think that it's normal, and that would be my suspicion, is that there are this handful of parts that all come up around this one question, or this one, trying to understand how is it that I feel about this target part. If there is this internal system, this internal family in you, then these parts have all they've known each other a long time. They all have different opinions and directions, and they interact a lot. So it would be completely normal to have, lots of parts that want to chime in when one of them is in the spotlight.
Yeah. It feels crowded.
And
it also, it feels crowded, but also it feels like I'm walking into a room where there's a lot of people.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm getting really super triggered right now, but it's I'm not sure what it is. Hang on, I need to take a moment.
Okay.
The image that I got in my head as a sort of a description was, for the the internal experience was walking into a room full of people who are sort of ghostly, and I can see through them, but I can't really interact with them very well. But neither can they interact with me. They hardly see me.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Mm. Mm.
So there are some ways that we could, ask them to kind of relax, to maybe, you said it feels crowded. And one thing about this work is that, we really tend to just try to work with one part at a time. And so there's a few techniques. It's fine. I mean, it happens to everybody that they come up at more than once. So we have to kind of figure out a way to ask them not to, or to invite them not to. So there's a lot of different techniques for that. You can kind of ask them all to have a seat at the table. You can think about asking them to wait in the waiting room while you take a moment to get to know one of them. You might let them all know that you do want to come to see all of them. But with this process, this is how we do it. It's kind of one at a time. And so I don't know if any of those kind of resonate for you or your parts.
Yeah, they do. And I've tried a few times sort of setting a table for them or a meeting area. And no one came. or at least I couldn't see anyone. The other thing is I have got, in the last couple of months trying to do this for myself, I have got when I felt that I had some sort of communication with a part, and it was usually a strong protected part, I'd always get like a really strong no,
A strong no from that part or from some other part?
It could have been another part.
Well, we know that there's a part in you that's opposed to the idea of multiplicity. So it might be, for example, often parts they're just envious. They like the spotlight. They like being with the self, and so they don't want to wait their turns. They don't want to go one at a time. And that's a problem I think that a lot of people have to face is if so many parts, I feel like I don't have time to get to all of them, and they're not thrilled about that program of one at a time.
That's exact. Some of what you said is almost verbatim what was going through my head a few minutes ago. Just stemming from me. Those ideas stemming from a sort of sense of frustration, a sense of like time pressure that and I guess disappointment that the problem isn't as simple as I had hoped. I think I was really excited when I had encountered what seemed to be very distinct personalities. So there were only one or two in the program, I did in Canada, ketamine one, and I was very excited because the experience was very, very clear, and there was a bit of amnesia between each personality, but only during the experience itself. So. And I really liked the parts that came out. There was a really young part.
Yeah.
Later on, there was a very old part, like older than my physical age. But at the end, and I was hoping, this is just a few parts, and I like all of them. And this is, I wish I could just properly be a person with DID. So I looked, I didn't know much about it. And I looked it up, and then it kind of dawned on me that I wasn't. Or maybe aspects of it, but at the end of that, the ketamine program, I had a very distinct experience where there were lots of parts, and it seemed that my daily functioning, moment to moment, almost from second to second, was determined by an sort of a semi-random outcome, of like just which part or group of parts manages to get activated and have enough activation in order to, move, physically move or steer the train of thought. And
that's the normal experience when self is not present as leader for the parts.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a part of me that's a little irritated to hear that because, but possibly understanding, because it makes sense. But irritated because I've been trying to have a meditation practice since I was about 15 or 16. But in reality, it's been really stop and go. And I think that during even extended sits, what would happen to me was that I'd basically end up meditating with a part or sort of dissociating for, the piece would be one of dissociation and not of sort of settling into the experience of what we might call a true self or something. This is helping, just talking about this now is helping to clarify some of these things about IFS and myself. So this is good.
Yeah, we're getting an overview, I feel like, of that room of people inside of you. We're getting an overview of kind of the scope of the project and relating it to our everyday or momentary, experience.
Yeah. It's a little frightening for me though, because it seems like there's just too much in the sense that there's too many parts, and they're sort of evasive. They're very they're fast.
Yeah.
Some of them don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
And then there's the problem of a part or group of parts which don't want to admit to anybody else but themselves that there are parts at all.
Sure.
There's such a thing as
there is kind of
That's it. I'm giving up. Sorry. No, I'm going home.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes. I do think there's kind of some exponential growth or gains that a lot of people will see where, it's like any project where when you first see the messy room, it's like, oh God, I can never do all of this. And then once you've worked with one part, suddenly all the rest are saying, oh, you can do this. Sign me up. And the ones that are reluctant or untrusting, they see the others at work, and there can be kind of a snowball effect where, you might see 100 parts now and think, well, that's going to take 100 months, and it's not quite like that. For most people, I feel like they're able to, work with one, and that one has a ripple effect on all the others.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's not really not always a linear process of first this and that, and
Yeah. So going back to your room full of people analogy, rather than being a room full of strangers, it's more like a family. It's more like a room full of kin, of cousins, and they're communicating with each other, whether you're there or not.
Yeah. I I like the idea. It's nice, but my sort of physical and emotional reaction to it is one of it sort of it makes it seem scarier that way. Yeah, if that makes sense to you.
I'm curious. Tell me more.
Okay, so I think if I see the room as not family, just more of an abstract idea, which I can relate to some things that are going on in my body and my mind, then it's easier for me to think about it. If I think about it as family, even though I understand that could be helpful because it would invite maybe a feeling of safety and compassion and that sort of thing. It's in my case, it seems to be doing the opposite.
Okay, and I just want to let you know that, when I am invoking that metaphor of family, it's not because I'm thinking about compassion and we naturally love our families. I was really just referring to it more as a network of communication, and just saying that they are already in communication with each other. And so
I see.
That's what I was trying to explain about the kind of commonly what I see is that kind of compounding effect of helping one seems to help many.
Yeah. So you affect one bit of the system, say, and it has sort of flow-on effects, ripples throughout.
Yeah, they're watching each other.
I'm laughing because it's the part of me that's talking now, following this train of thought is thinking that it's really not fair that there's parts which I'm not wholly conscious of. Yet these bastards are running the show.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Hey, I'm just getting conscious of the time again, and so I don't want to suddenly have to, either of us have to say, "Oh, you were out of time." Let's, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have a hard timeline today.
Oh,
so
okay, right.
It's your call.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I just have one response to that last thing.
Sure. Yeah.
about it kind of not being fair, to not be wholly conscious. And I just want to kind of offer another analogy about parts of your body, and how when I'm doing anything, when I'm operating with my hands, I'm not conscious of the feelings of my feet, and our internal parts, or psychic parts, however we're calling these, they're like that, where the idea that we would be, 100% conscious of everything at once, I don't know that that's a real standard, or that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No,
And like when
I
you
get it.
like when you have
Yeah.
something that's
Yeah.
that's injured, when you have pain, like I have back pain. Well, so I just don't bend that way, like, ever, and so there's things that I push out, and I'm not in relation with, and I see someone else do it, and I'm like, oh my God, you can pick that up like that. You know what I mean? So, like, I have that kind of same, like, unconsciousness of parts of me, because I'm not in touch with them, because I've exiled them, because they're painful. But yeah, that can even exist on that kind of physical realm. So just putting out more analogies for any of those skeptical parts.
Yeah. I have a feeling that there's a sort of for me personally, but also culturally, in terms of, like, in terms of Western culture, there are elements about both that support a sort of a mechanical way of thinking,
Yes.
and overly reductionist, and I guess, I think as I've gotten older, I've managed to release my grasp on that idea that if you have a problem, you can to solve it, you understand all the components, and solve it, fix it, that sort of thing. But it does sort of it sort of assumes that everything can be understood. And I've been able to relax that part. And the thing is, there's a very, very strong part of parts of me which I'm really captivated and possibly in touch with non-ordinary states of consciousness, and non-physical reality, and all that sort of stuff. So there's a really strong sort of interplay between the scientific reductionist parts,
right,
and the parts which really, really feel a lot from nature and dream states, and
and we need all of those parts. We need that point A to point B problem solving parts of ourselves. We need the scientific thinking parts of ourselves. We need the intuition. We need the dreams. They're all useful. They're all there for a reason. Like, they're common in everyone. Well, that's because this is the way that we are, and so the goal here is to unburden them from jobs that they don't want to do, or jobs that they're doing that are no longer useful, and let them do the jobs that they want to do, or that maybe they just want to relax. Maybe these, but that's kind of the goal, is to get in alignment with them. Again, as a leader, they come to you, they report to you, they share their experiences and their valuable perspectives, and you're able to listen and respond in a way that works for the whole system.
I've got a question in all this. Sort of, I've worked partway through Dick Schwartz's book, it's called the IFS Manual or something like that, I think. But it's the one that's geared for therapists, and I've also started the one called All Parts Welcome, I think. But in the big book, it says he outlines early on how he came to develop IFS and mentions the concept of self. And I've heard it can take years just to get a sense of what self-energy feels like. So I'm thinking, I guess the question is, like, in the time period leading up to the time when you actually experience for the first time what self-energy is, who's making the decisions? Like, would it be just the managers and the firefighters all the time?
So you've done a lot of studying of Buddhism, right? And meditation.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I can. Who's doing anything? Who, you know what I mean? Like, who am I? Right. Right.
Yeah,
and similarly,
I think that's an awesome answer. Very good answer.
Yes, and also, like in the Buddhist path, there can be. They talk about awakenings that, this is a 60-year project, and then they also talk about awakenings that happen in an instant. So I think that embodiment of self is both. It's something that we've both done in this conversation, and it's also a lifelong practice of developing and learning to embody more.
Yeah.
But you've already shown that you have the ability to talk to parts. So that's a pretty huge first step. I mean, I think that I've read that can take months for some people to even acknowledge that this is a part, and I just noticed something about it. So
yeah. So I think what happened now that I've had this experience with you, to sort of inform me about how IFS could go with myself. I think what happened with that other therapist was that we were just over triggering each other in various ways that we couldn't notice. That he was getting, some sort of his protectors or something, possibly. Yeah. I think that's a viable explanation. Another explanation is that he just sort of been doing it so long that he decided he thought that he could just feel his way through his process and not follow a script. I'm not saying that you're following a script, because you kind of went on script and then off script, if we call it a script. The patterns that Dick Schwartz uses, but yeah. So in this last hour with you, it's been really, really interesting. And it's given me a wealth of information to sort of ponder, and to be honest, a sort of a small but solid feeling of hope about this project.
Yeah.
which is much more than I can usually say is the case with
that's great. That's great.
So this is very good, very good.
Well, I hope you call back. I hope that you keep doing it. If not with me, then on your own or with someone. It's really, I've just seen nothing but positive results, really. So.
Yeah, I would like to call back. Would I be able to go over this recording and because I haven't made any notes, and I feel like there's quite a few here that are things here that I'll forget, but no time pressure at all.
Sure, I might be able to share it. An unedited version, like sooner than I could share an edited version. So that's a possibility.
That would be fun. But don't I don't want to impose. But I would be quite keen to listen to the unedited version, just so I can take some notes and
make a note of that. Great. Cool. Well, schedule another time with me. I'd love to keep working with you. I think it's fun. I think it's fascinating, and hopefully we can make some progress in coming to know parts.
Yeah. This is like I said, it feels like way more than is possible. But no, you kind of explained why I'm kind of inflating that fear unreasonably. So not anything. This is Hey, thanks so much, James.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of those parts of yours that showed up. They had something to say. They shared it. They didn't overwhelm you. Although at times it felt crowded, but they're there, and it seems like they're eager and willing to make themselves known and to I don't know, just get to know you, or let you get to know them. So, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, thanks, James. Cheers.
Talk to you next time.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.